those people. So by definition, people that are working on project, those are called overhead, kind of like HR, accounting, legal, because their salary is paid by somebody else that is earned for them, right? Now, why companies doing projects? Really simple. It's for the future of the company. So with that, you can see there's quite a bit of things that are going on here, the characteristics and the typical definition of projects. Like for example, significant and importance, right? It's for the company's future, of course, it needs to be important. Temporary, again, when you do a development product, you need to get it done, get it out of there as quickly as possible, which a lot of times it's actually against human nature. By the way, if you form a project team, the people love to work with the team and love to do what they do. They don't want the project to be done and then work on something else with somebody else, right? So how do you do that in a company settings to make project management works? It's not just simple as putting out there and push people to get things done, okay? So, projects are essentially the significant link between the corporation's strategy, to its vision. Every company should have a vision. A vision is something that you look out in the future, and this is what my company looks like in the future, okay? So with that, you have to have a strategy. Strategy is like a plan, how to get there. And what makes up that strategy is very simple, it's projects. So, if you have one project, you won't be a successful company. Because after that is done, then what happens, right? So you need a portfolio of projects that mapping out for the whole company to get your company to that strategic, future, okay? So now, how do you manage projects now become really significant now? Traditional project management, we can actually look at traditional project management. It's actually, setting the objective and then setting the boundaries using control. What those controls are typically, have a project plan, have a charter, right? Have all these change controls. This is traditional management, traditional project management. And when you do that, it's very difficult for people to innovate because you are setting a guardrail for people to execute within those things. Okay? So, and management actually typically let people know about the boundaries by rewarding them and punish them in some cases, right? So this is how a company typically, if you use this kind of management, traditional project management type of things, you will actually only create what we call a compliance system. Like a government type of setting, which is fine, right, for different companies. But if you want a company to have creativity and innovation, you cannot just rely on this kind of system to do it, okay? So, now, innovation actually takes a lot of effort. A lot of times, sometimes it's statistics. The Silicon Valley is great at innovation. Why? Because we are more tolerant for failure. The more you try, the more success that you will get. Right? So there's a book called 3,000 Raw Ideas Equal to 1 Commercial Success. So they kind of, study everything, go through, right? They map it out, So you have 3,000 ideas, eventually, get to 125 projects, and then, get to 1.7, get to the market entry, and then you go to 1 success. Now that gets down to, traditional project management. Traditional project management looks, every project is the same. The objective is to get those projects to be successful. Now, in a company setting, do you think you need to get all projects successful? And by the way, if you set the performance, the KPI as project success, what happens if an employee have a great idea, but the success rate of that project is, not so good, let's say 50-50. But if this company using project success as a performance, measurement, I bet that employee is not going to take the initiative to start that project, because if that project fails, right? This employee will not be able to stay in that company, will lose face, or will be punished, or whatever, right? So that's the issue here. We cannot look at all projects are the same, and we cannot try to get all projects successful. And by the way, it's not necessary. You got 125 projects. If you do all 125 projects, there's no way, right? You don't have that much resources. So, what exactly is project management's focus? It's actually quite simple. It's innovation. Not only every project you want to have innovation within, you also need to have innovation in the way that you're managing those things, right? Now, if you want innovation, what do you need, right? What's the foundation of that? It's actually capability. You need to have, capable people, right? Ability, right? To do those kind of things. Now, what is the foundation of that ability? It's actually corporate culture. Okay? If you don't have a good corporate culture, you will not attract the people that are willing to do those things for you. Because the culture is like when you get into a company, you feel that, hey, this is not comfortable for me. What does that mean? That means you not fitting into that culture. Okay? So you need to build a culture to enable the capability. Now, what's the foundation of the culture? It's the corporate system. If you have a bad corporate system, a bureaucratic corporate system, you will not have a great culture. That's just very simple. So when you build the innovation, it's not just ask employees, hey, go innovate. You have to start out from the systems and build one layer at a time to achieve the innovation. So that actually explains a little bit more, right? The formula actually to success or to innovation is quite simple. You need to have people that have ability. And not only ability, they are willing to do it for you, not somebody else. Okay? So with that said, right, you can see that leads to that. Now, where is the willingness part coming from? And by the way, as a manager, this is the formula for hiring people too. Right? You want to hire people that have the ability, right, and also willing to work for you, right? But if one of the other is lacking, which one do you prefer? Typically, you prefer the willingness, okay? Because if you have the skill sets, you don't want to do it for me, or somebody offer you more money, you go away, right? Then what's good for me, right? So, now where is the willingness coming from? It's actually coming from corporate culture. The culture drives the will for the people that collectively achieve the results. Where's ability coming from? Coming from learning. Now, where's learning? Learning needs a lot of motive. Again, it's from the will. So that's why when we're hiring people, or we look for people, we are looking for people that have a strong will, strong work ethics, and strong will to do something for you. Okay? Now, with that said, right, a lot of managers then you can just say, hey, as long as I find good people, then my job is done. No, because it's just like, you're doing gardening. You find a good seed, but you need to make sure they are in a good environment to grow, right? So, again, the environment is making everything works. Okay? So, that environment is actually the corporate system. So essentially, managers and HR need to build that corporate system to matching with the people, with the culture that you want, right? Now, you can actually, put this into an individual perspective. If you hire a person, right, the will of a person actually is coming from the personality of the person. So the personality of a person is actually kind of like the culture of a corporation. Okay? So essentially, if you want innovation, you have to start it out focus on making the system, and that system is suitable for the culture that you want. And then you build a culture that fits, and promotes the capability, attract the people that you want to attract, right? And then gets to innovation. Again, innovation is not about something that you define yourself. Innovation is defined by the market and the customer, not defined by you. You think that you're doing great things, but if the market don't accept it, too bad, right? So now, this gets into a model that I kind of developed, It's strategically use project management, and project mapping and management to achieve the innovation. So you can actually use projects to change your corporate system. If you have a corporate system that have a lot of departments and running on silos and things like that, right? All you need to do is create projects to break down the silos, force the department to cooperate. So essentially, you're doing projects not just for getting the products out, getting the service, design the service. It's actually you can use project to change the corporate system, to make it more open, to make it more agile. Right? And likewise, you can use project as a mean, as a tool for people to force them to cooperate or to help them, to build commitment, working together. So again, a corporation with a lot of projects will actually have a greater cooperation and greater committed employees. And likewise, project is also, you're doing some projects. If you don't use a failure as, a performance measures, and people will use project, and then every project, it's a learning opportunity, right? So you can use projects to encourage people to learn, to develop, right, to get to the future. So, and with that, right, if you give somebody's capability, innovation is no longer a slogan because people have the skill sets. It's like a kid have a toy, they will play with it, right? They will use it. So this is the mapping part of it. So in a corporation, you can, kind of put your projects together. And essentially, this is the strategic roadmap for your company, right? You have the vision at the very far end. So there's two dimensions, right? Time and future, and then there's a current core competency, and then also there's advanced abilities. So the circles are representing projects. So there's small projects, a small circle, right? Bigger projects, bigger circle. So essentially, it's how many people you put in, resources you put in, right? So now you can see when you map the projects, I separate the project into 3 different categories. Remember, right, we cannot use one single project management method to manage all projects. So if you look at this, the very far end, projects that align with your vision and mission, it's what I call the pathfinding projects. Now those projects is okay to fail, and don't do too big of those projects, by the way. Right? Small projects and things like that. Now you get in the middle section, those are core projects. Now core project, it takes a different management style. It must be successful. Because that is typically the next product that you're putting into the market. Okay? And then at the back end here, more close to the time of now, it's what I call continuous improvement projects. Now, why do we need also quite a bit of those projects? Remember, a corporate culture, an innovative corporate culture, a culture is made up by everybody in the company. A lot of companies make a mistake. They say, well, I have an R&D department. Innovation is the R&D department's job. You don't have a innovative corporate culture. You only have a subculture within R&D group. In the very good case, you go look at Google, right? Their employees have a great culture, not just the R&D group. Everybody working hard, okay? And everybody pushing it, and that's the culture that they want to push, right? So in a typical company, R&D department typically is very small population, okay? How do you get the entire company to set up that culture? At least, technicians, operators, are they on doing projects? If they are not, you don't have an innovative culture. So that's why you also need quite a bit of those, continuous improvement projects. Okay? Now, you can actually use this to kind of analyzing a company, by the way, right? If I, by the way, different project management methods out there now, you can actually use different type of method to managing different projects. Okay? Now, getting back to this mapping, if I separate that map into 6 regions, right? I already showed you on the other one, you have a lot of projects at number 1. And that's what it should be. What happens if you have a project at number 2? That means those projects are utilized really low skills sets, right? Not quite lined up for the future. And those projects typically either waste your company's money, right? So, or you need to move them far on the left end, typically transfer them to the continuous improvement project because the skill requirements are pretty low, okay? So you shouldn't have projects in number 2. Now, if you don't have project in 1 and 2, your company don't have a future. Because those pathfinding projects are the future of core projects. And that's where the core projects are coming from. You either make the pathfinding projects bigger or combine several pathfinding projects to make your next generation products, right? So that's what that 1 and 2 is, right? So you should have a lot of projects in number 1. Now what happened on 3 and 4? That's how I call the core project region. And if you don't have any core projects, that means your company actually, it's very shaky because you don't have a focus. The core project you see there, right? It's big, it's only a few because you don't want to do too many. If you do too many, your resources are not going to be useful, right? The core project, like I mentioned, it has to be successful. So it's like an express train. When the core projects comes in, everything yields. It takes the priority of the company because that's the next generation of products. Now, a lot of people say, well, how about the projects on number 3 region, the core projects? If you do core projects on number 3, what does that mean? That means your company is taking a huge risk because the technology is really advanced. It probably is not that stable. Okay? Now, for those people that are coming from China, the company called LeSi.
Yeah.
The reason why I know they're failing is because they do too many core projects involved with too many advanced technologies.
Yeah, right.
It's a great publicity, but you cannot do it. So essentially, if you're doing project number 3, you know what happened? Because the technology is not mature enough, eventually it shifts to the region number 1. It will have a lot of delays because it's for the future, not for now. The core project is the next generation product. You need to reduce the risks, get to the market, right? And that's your next cash cow, by the way. So that's why you need to do it in 4, not in 3. Okay? Now, in 5 and 6, typically, because those are your frontline workers, right? They see something, they want to improve something, and then typically those projects are in number 6. And what happens if you have projects number 5? Now, sometimes we do have employees that are crazy enough to do things that is very advanced. Okay, just like Steve Jobs said, right? Steve Jobs says that, the people that are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are those that actually did, right? Or do. So, anyway, so if you have people that are actually doing projects on number 5, as management, you need to encourage them and also help them to connect to the people that are doing projects number 1 and 2. Now, in large corporations, how do they separate this? 1 and 2 typically is research lab, right? Google X, Facebook Creative Lab, HP Lab, Intel Lab, right? GE Global Research, Xerox PARC, right? So that's number 1 and 2 typically. Number 3 and 4 are the product development groups, the R&D development groups, right? Number 5 and 6 is the rest of the corporation. Okay, everybody, frontline workers, technicians, right? People on the manufacturing side of things, right? So everybody. Okay, so now you can see how this mapping is mapped out, right? So, and that's the strategic mapping to achieve the visions. So, in my opinion, right? If you do want to manage projects, and this is probably an overview on how, because I talk about it, right? Traditional project management won't work in most cases. So if I'm looking at this map here, project have the life cycles. We manage that life cycle according to the time scale. And we try to get performance, but that's what traditional project management focus on. And we also need learnings. Okay, so that's in addition to that, especially in pathfinding. You know, pathfinding projects actually are trying to get the capability for the company. It's a learning process. So with that, you have to set up the people to do that, because people are the one that are doing the innovation. People are the one that are doing the project. How do you get that? I already kind of mentioned it. You have to start with making the corporate system suitable for the culture that you want to have to attract the people that have certain capabilities, right? And again, different companies have different cultures and attract different people. Like for example, my company, Intel, I worked there for 27 years, right? Semiconductor require a lot of people working on a lot of, it's not as simple as software like Google, okay? So it require a lot of things. Now, their corporate system is designed to actually help to maintain some of the people, to stay longer. For example, in the Bay Area, right, I think most large companies, they don't have sabbatical anymore. Well, Intel still do, right? Intel, every 7 years, you can take 8 weeks off. And in a sense, you see, oh, this is kind of like the benefit. But what it actually means is like, for example, if you hire somebody, right? If you train them and everything, after 4 years, they left the company, then it's your loss. But if you have a sabbatical program, that means those people will say, well, I better stay a little longer, right? And also, right, in corporate world, what's the most difficult thing for people? It's actually to transfer what they learn as the knowledge that they learn to other people without any holdbacks, right? Now, the Intel sabbatical, if you want to take sabbatical, you still hold accountable for your performance on certain projects. What you do is, before you take sabbatical, you have to give everything out, so that other people can cover you. Essentially, you train another person to cover everything that you do, so you can take, by the way, that sabbatical is you have to take it in one shot. You cannot separate them, right? So, once you go on sabbatical now, when you come back, a lot of times, do you think you can get back what you get back? Because somebody already doing it. Now, you're sitting on it saying, what can I do here now? If you don't do anything, you know the company is not going to pay you money for sitting around. So you have to prove yourself again. Right? Through that process, so the system designed to keeping certain people to maintain certain capability. Okay, so that's the design, right? And then after that, once you have the people as the next level of foundation, you have to learn how to manage information. Managing information is from the ideation, how do you get idea? And once you get idea, you have to share. And after sharing, you have to design on what to do, right? And then you take the action, but it doesn't end there. You have to do the retrospective, and that's how you learn. Okay, it's a learning process, right? And after that, you start managing the tasks. And current project management, the work breakdown structure is not good for innovation. Okay, and I kind of propose another one called work build-up structure. And using that, you can, design the tasks and manage them very well. And then also going to the next level is managing a schedule. And current project schedule is always based on deadlines. The deadline have a huge problem because, as you know, you set the deadline, typically people will go march to the deadline and it only creates delay. So there's a whole new scheduling method that is without deadlines, and that actually can push people to doing things faster. Okay, and again, a lot of things that we design the system, we have to tap into human nature. If that makes it work, the things will work better. Okay, so that's what I have to share today. So, any questions?
Very good.
Yes.
Can you elaborate more on the alternatives to the ones?
The alternative to...
Can you elaborate more on the alternatives to deadlines?
Oh, alternative deadlines. Okay, so there's a method called critical train scheduling. Now, we, in time management, right, we have a lot of bad behaviors. One of them is called student syndrome. If you set a deadline, typically as a student, right, you see things, you spend a little time on it, and then you actually anticipate You know, for example, the deadline is due a month from now, and you're kind of thinking, oh, I can take 2 days to do it, and you're not going to do it now, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to wait, right? And then also, what we call a, you know, if you're doing one test after another test, and when you set the deadlines, right? For example, if the first test is delayed, as a project manager, you typically will have to shift the whole schedule because you don't want to penalize the second person, right? So essentially, if you have a long chain of events, activities, one of them on the critical path is delayed, your project is going to be delayed, right? Now, let's take it another way. Let's say you have a new team member that just gets in and get everything done really fast. As a project manager, do you revise the project schedule? Typically, you don't,
Yeah.
right? You just say, hey, we have this thing done early. It gives a lot of time for gives time for the rest of the people. I have some buffer. It makes my, work more comfortable, right? So
Yeah.
I keep in the same schedule. So that's the problem. So essentially, it means if a whole chain of event, one person delayed, everything delays. If one person gets fast, you don't get the benefit at all. Because other people still matching towards that, right? So this method of critical change scheduling, it's actually managing the task as like a relay running. So essentially, one person finishes running fast, and then you hand it to other people, right? Just keep going that way. Yeah, if you want to know more, we can talk more about it. And by the way, I have a book. If you Google my name, I have a book that just come out in January. It's a class that I teach at Stanford. He elaborated the entire method there.
All right, good.
It's very difficult to hear. I think we have time enough. I'll talk to you outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to you too. Yeah, because of the time.